Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. It's bright and early in the morning over here in the States. For those of you coming at us from Europe, it is heading into the evening time. I hope you had a delicious dinner because we have some Dota to serve up. It's going to be myself, KotLGuy. I'm here with Blaze. Blaze, we have three two-game series for you. The headliner, or at least our opener, Kaipi versus Power Rangers. Should be a doozy.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm really curious about what we're going to be able to expect from Kaipi over the rest of the tournament because obviously their first match didn't go so well up against Elements.
Mm-mm.
And yeah, they were looking to bring it back. We're going to see Power Rangers kind of finding their form once again. They had a recent not only shuffle of roster, but also of roles. So really excited to see what they bring to the table here. And it's going to be, yeah, a little bit different.
Yeah, as mentioned, so this is going to be Group B. Kaipi, unfortunately, coming off a 0-2 performance, at least here in this series, against the Elements Pro Gaming, and then obviously for Power Rangers, a 1-1 split. Also in this group, we have Adfinem, who have yet to make their debut. I believe that's going to be happening in our next series. So looking forward to seeing the Greeks play. And over the course of the next day or so, we're going to find out the top one from each of these four groups, and then they'll move off into a single elimination playoff bracket and get that much closer towards that $5,000 prize pool, and most importantly, huge Dota bragging rights. So, Blaze, let's hop into the draft itself here. Kaipi here are going to be taking what looks like the first pick, so they opted to go right in for the Oracle. Power Rangers respond with the Sand King. Man, we've been seeing these two all met along. And of course, you can't forget them too without the Mighty Kunkka.
Well, the Sun King actually is the opener there, but the Oracle Cooker response is actually pretty solid too.
You're right.
So yeah, it works out that way. The Kaipi chose the Dire, Power Rangers chose the first pick, and actually go with a Dazzle. Interestingly enough, so this is going to allow them to do is fight very often. Like I mean, yeah, there's Epicenter is kind of a long cooldown, but you don't even need the Epicenter for a Sand King to be relevant. You fight with Burrow Strike, you fight with your Shadow Wave, and you just kind of get right up in their face. So I've seen Sand King Dazzle duo, where you have the Caustic Finale and the Shadow Wave, and you can kind of get right up in there
Yeah.
and pressure an off lane really well. So I think that has some potential. And just in general, I feel that the Sand King is going to be kind of this linchpin of this plan. Now, the way we've been seeing this devolve is that Cheshire Cat, he used to play a lot of more like right-click oriented offlaners. Phase Boot Saves the Prophet is always what I think of
Oh
with
yeah,
Cheshire Cat.
yeah. Nature's Prophet is like Cheshire Cat hero for
But
sure.
in this case, he's been playing a lot more Sand King recently, so I think it suits them very well. They're very comfortable with it. That's why they decided to open with it as a first pick. And I think that if they can enable him to get an earlier Blink Dagger, or at least allow him to play more aggressively, then it's going to suit their desires quite a bit. And the best part about the laning configuration here is that while Oracle is a great hero overall, his first 2 to 3 levels are actually pretty weak. Like level 4 is when I think Oracle really starts shining on his own.
You have fun ways, like as an Oracle. I mean, I would assume more in a pub that you can like manipulate the lane and your opponent with even right off the gate. Like if you want to be totally nerdy and get like the early Fates Edict, and you want to cancel out your opponent's last hit game. But you're right. His real potential doesn't come through until you're able to kind of really bulk up the bit of the nuking power right there, following it up with multiple Purifying Flames. Hell, you can even use a high-level Purifying Flames to just even deny your own lane and take that away from your opponent. So lots of utility with the Oracle, but as you said, something that doesn't really shine through until you get a little bit further into the laning phase itself. So now that both teams have established a strong, what I like to say, foundation for the game, it looks like they kind of want to start building around that. Can't go through a second phase without banning out the pesky Huskar. And making sure that he's not going to be that nuisance, that raid boss that Kaipi could be pairing with Oracle, or that Power Rangers could be pairing with the Dazzle. Kaipi take the first initiative, just take him out of the picture altogether.
Yeah, and that would obviously be a pretty high priority pick that obviously Kaipi didn't want to go with themselves, so they'll take care of it. But yeah, in this case, I do feel like Power Rangers, they're going to look to find heroes that take initiative really early on. Undying would have been really good. This is something that Gotham has been running quite a bit, just because it's kind of like those in-your-face supports. Like, he's happy to run Omni or an Undying or just something get involved. Nyx Assassin, for some reason, is something that I remember him playing a lot when he was on Hellraisers way back when. That's like, like a full year ago at this point.
That's crazy, yeah.
But yeah, he used to play a lot of in-your-face kind of support heroes. Now, Void here is going to be pretty solid for the offlane of Kaipi, not only for really setting up team fights, you can guarantee a really good Torrent boat out of a Chrono, but also the laning configuration. Dazzle, if he goes Poison Touch, he can kind of hurt the Void, but he'll never kill him. and that's the big thing. Is just the Void can play actively on the lane. This isn't a offlaner that has to go Iron Talon jungle start. He can definitely contest a lane against the Dazzle, and like I said, the Dazzle might not even be there, so the Void can get even more involved.
So what do you do then? You're already stuck with a Dazzle. Do you have to opt up for some sort of position 4 that could help zone back the Void, or are you just going to have to take it as it is? I mean, there are some other good options out there that could help, but one of the ones that Power Rangers opt to go for here is going to be the Skywrath Mage. Typically, we would see this hero come into play as a niche pick for some teams to maybe counter against what was popular at the time, something like the Timbersaw. But here and now, we're seeing kind of like classic throwback to TI4, the Faceless Void Skywrath pairing. It's good together, and Skywrath also good against it. You know, yeah, I guess you could drop down the Mystic Flare right in the middle of the Chronosphere, and Faceless Void's obviously going to have to change positions, and that removes a lot of the time of the precious Chrono.
It also means that Void can never Chrono his allies. If he ever Chronospheres the allies and Skywrath is outside, he's like, yes! That's exactly what I wanted, and he just blows somebody up. But mostly picked up, I think, for the silence. Like, the Arcane harassment is going to be decent, but all in all, the Void will be able to time walk that off. As far as other options and ways of dealing with a Void in the offlane, if it is indeed offlane, it could be a safe lane Void.
I know, now things are getting interesting.
But if it was in the offlane, then you could look at something like an Ursa or an Anti-Mage. Those are the two carries that I look to really counteract the Void through their passives. The Mana Break, the Fury Swipes, it really makes Time Walk less effective overall, and things like Sven's Stun is also pretty good. But Beastmaster has been picked up. This makes me think more along the lines of Void being a safe lane carry, Beastmaster being the offlaner. It doesn't have to be that way set in stone. We've seen like the Fata mid Beastmasters and
Sing Sing mid Kunkka, you know, 4-position Beastmaster. Yeah, there are lots of options there. There are ones that people would love to see as crowd pleasers, like the Sing Sing Kunkka, and, you know, like you said, likely could be a safe lane Faceless Void, and they'll just kind of try to mind game it and throw Beastmaster instead into the off lane, knowing now that he has a matchup, I would suppose, against the Skywrath and the Dazzle. But not taking too much time after that, Power Rangers opt and go straight for the greedy Lord himself in the Alchemist here. So
I really like that.
Okay, so you think that with the tools that Kaipi have already kind of invested in, they might not have enough to be able to deal with that Alchemist?
Yeah, I think the big thing here is that Kaipi have invested heavily in control, but not so much in damage output. The most damage you're actually getting from any of the heroes is Oracle. Like, his Purifying Flames nuke is actually pretty solid, but everybody else is mostly bringing more disable than they are damage. So if Dazzle adds in one Shadow Wave to the constantly healing Alchemist with that Chemical Rage, it's actually going to be really hard to bring him down. The two heroes that fit this archetype really well are both Morphling and Alk, because Morphling can morph during any one of these disables and get his strength up so that he can't be killed, and Alk with the ultimate can just do pretty much the same thing. It allows them to play really greedy despite having a very fighty lineup. Like, their first three picks are very combat oriented, but Alchemist is very farm oriented, so it balances the scales. They're going to finish this off with a Timbersaw here. They do end up banning out the A just in case, because obviously Alk Dazzle do not want to go up against the Apparition, no matter how Kaipi tend to suit their roles.
I mean, even Timber, not a big fan of AA. I mean, reactive armor pretty much gets rendered useless with all that sweet and delicious HP regen. But, yeah, nonetheless, Kaipi have to really sweat over what their 5th pick is going to be. As mentioned, a lot of abilities to have lockdown, which is great against now the new pickup of Timbersaw, but then that means the Alchemist can kind of do as he pleases. So he is going to be a bit of a problem here. Kaipi need to kind of adjust accordingly. We've been theory crafting exactly what these middle 3 could be doing between the Kunkka, Faceless Void, and Beastmaster here, but we got to find out what that final piece of the puzzle is going to be, and they're going to be going in for a Death Prophet Blaze.
All right, so that is going to leave us with the offlane Kunkka, at least it looks like, with Bambo picking it up, and that changes.
Well, he has been swapping into some 4-position play. We saw him play Ricky a little bit, and yeah, it could be.
Yeah, they had also a duo offlane where, although he was playing Nature's Prophet, he actually took less farm than his laning partner. So yeah, it looks like Kaipi are reevaluating their economy a little bit, trying to decide more and more who's going to be taking the farm, who needs the farm. More so than anything else, and yeah, it looks like obviously Sing Sing is going to be the clear farmer here for the Death Prophet. The Void is going to need something in his arsenal as well, so look to those two to be the top 2 of Kaipi's net worth. But as a whole, the other 3 will be distributed, if not evenly, then it could be the Kunkka over the Beastmaster, or it could be the Beastmaster over the Kunkka. We'll have to see. I like the Death Prophet, though, in the sense that the Exorcism will do a lot of damage in the Chronosphere and the boat if you can go in. Essentially, You start with Chrono, you follow up with Boat. That's a lot of disable time, and you also get the Kunkka's run buff on the Death Prophet. So she's healing up with her Spirit Siphon. She's surviving through the fight a very long time and getting all that damage out. And there's also a neat factor that because the ghosts aren't technically attacking, they're not triggering reactive armor. So you can actually burst a Timbersaw with physical damage despite his general ability to sustain through all that.
And I don't know if it was already mentioned, but you add on top of all of those things, they have the Oracle on their team, and we already know that False Promise paired together with the Death Prophet and that Spirit Siphon is just ridiculous. She will reap double the healing benefits from that, and she becomes just a monster in the tank department when she's kind of trying to get into the eye of the storm with that serious exorcism damage. So we'll have to see how things do progress here as we do get underway. No serious Rumble movement happening here. We have some early ward placement happening from PR up in their off lane. They drop down one towards the mid to get a little bit of extra vision towards the upper half of the rune area, and now they have congregated together pretty much as a full stack in hopes of maybe making a pounce here on maybe a certain Sing Sing.
Yeah, the big thing is the bounty rune obviously for the alchemist, so getting that Grievous Greed up. But the problem is they're both eyeing the same runes. That's where the contest comes in, and it looks like Kaipi just haven't brought enough heroes. They kind of assumed that Power Rangers would go for the bottom rune, and that assumption does at least cost him this first rune. But it looks like Sing Sing will just be able to make his way down towards the bottom. No, he prioritizes the block. He thinks the block against the alchemist, since he is range versus melee, is even more important than the bounty rune, and it's going to be more gold for Kunkka's chest as Bambo makes his way middle.
Yeah, he's like, if they're going to have a bit of an awkward head start here, they ping the area.
They saw it. He just barely went into Skywrath Mage's line of sight, and while this boots first Kunkka should have been able to snipe the courier, it's just not going to happen. That would have been great, because the way Bignum started his items, he got Quelling Blade, and he's like, I'll just get my poor man's shield with that easy bounty rune. So now he has all of his perfect starting items to deal with Sing Sing's harassment. He's like taking no damage from the Crypt Swarm, which in its nerf state only does 75 damage at level 1. And then the auto attacks do very little as well, so it's going to be rough.
Top lane, nice little cute setup happening here from Kaipi. They put the Fortune's End together with the Torrent, and it's going to be successful. Already Kaipi with some cute tactics here. Bambo will be the one to claim the first blood.
Nice little bash there from Bone 7, or I think the Fairy Fire would have made it even more difficult to find that kill. I think you Fairy Fire, then you might be able to get like 2 ticks of a salve, and you're actually going to be under tower at that point.
So already we're going to be seeing some fun little shenanigans breaking out. Top lane, Cheshire Cat will be able to forward step to dodge out the Torrent, and Kaipi will have to step back, but we're expecting both side staff here to be a bit frisky in the lane. Cheshire Cat is getting it deterred and allows Bone 7 to continue to grind away the farm. We'll touch back with mid lane, and we expected Sing Sing to be climbing up a bit of a steep hill, missing out on the first rune, going against the Yalku gets his. You know, he's getting the advantage at the start, but you kind of expect that a bit. Death Prophet 10-1 to Alchemist is 6-0, but does it continue to skate this way, Blaze, or do they eventually turn around? Top lane, Cheshire Cat caught with another Torrent. This time he will go down. Fluff will be the response and allow PR to get themselves on the board, but will they lose J4 on top of it? It looks like that may be the case. They jump forward, he tries to juke back, pops off a nice heal in hopes of maybe getting a return kill on the sexy Bambo, but that is not going to be happening. J4, though, does manage to slip away alive.
I love how J4 used the creep wave as kind of like his bodyguard, where it's like, okay, if you wanna really directly approach me, you're gonna have to go through the creeps, and with that, it makes it so that you eat the heal bomb, you eat that big shadow wave, and it actually forces Bambo to go back and suicide to a neutral creep. So it's a lot of fun watching these guys get really involved on the lane. Obviously, I talked about it right when these two heroes were picked, that this is actually a pretty solid dual offlane, but it actually just brings back memories in the sense that Cheshire Cat and J4 have actually been on Power Rangers for the longest time. This is a little bit of trivia for some of the guys, as we do see a Torrent dodge attempted by Cheshire Cat. Actually, there was no Torrent cast, so Bambo gets the better of that one. But a little bit of trivia for you guys is that my very first attempt at casting, just a Dota 2 replay cast, was Power Rangers versus MTW, and Cheshire Cat and J4 were on that team back in 2012. So they've been together as long as I've known Dota, and it's just fun to see them still in action. Really good friends, great coordination built up over the longest of time.
Great team name and a great theme song to go along with it.
Exactly.
As well. I mean, I even remember Power Rangers from casting way back through High Ground. Before that, was a big fan of Dityara at the time. That's when I really saw him start to shine through. And with a team with so much history here, they're looking to kind of make sure the name stands strong in the Dota scene now, as they are leading off this group stage run of the BTS series with a 1-1 split. So if they're able to walk away from the series with a 2-0, they would be in a good contending spot. Top lane, though, goddamn, begins to roll forward. There is going to be a torrent connection onto Cheshire Cat. Will they have the burst with the Purifying Flames? They certainly will, but it looks like they could lose Bambo. He tries to salve up. Will keep him alive through the first snurk, but they are going to be able to get him with the follow-up takedown. Fluff looking to retreat. They got the poison touch. They got him. Oracle going to be taken down. Skywrath rotating through with a double kill. Good first power initiative coming out from goddamn.
Yeah, and of course we did see the Sand King go down in that, so it's Cheshire Cat unfortunately starting 0 and 3 in his laning phase, but still a great rotation for the Skywrath, being able to pick up the heroes that he wanted out of that, and starting to suppress the Void's farm. Void was top of CS, now ranked 3rd, and obviously he's always fighting time against that Alchemist. You need to get your damage up really quickly as Void, because this Alch is going to be able to get too tanky too quickly. So it's very important that they're taking this aggressive stance in the off lane. And while the Sand King isn't necessarily profiting from it, he's actually one of the lower net worth on his team right now. It's still overall great pressure that Power Rangers are putting out up top.
It's just, there's so much chaos almost and constant attention towards the top lane, but it's mid lane where action's really breaking out. Sync pushing past the tier 1. With that Soul Siphon trying to do some work on the Alchemist, but will be forced to kind of sidestep and TP all the way back home and just try instead to muscle him out. Top lane, Fortune's End. No Torrent Fire from Bambo, but he steps in, gets off a hard Tidebringer shot. Axe pullback. That one's going to be into a Torrent, and with the Purifying Flames, they get the job done. It looks like a bit of a circus act, but Kaipi get another.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is really bad for the Sand King. Starting off, he's only got 640 net worth. He's gained 20 gold since this game started 5 minutes ago, and it's just a rough one for him. It's just they are putting out the right target priority, focusing it down when he's out of position. The big thing is when he's away from the creep wave. When he's on the enemy creep wave, you have to worry about Caustic. When he's on his own creep wave, you have to worry about Shadow Wave. But they're finding him like in this neutral ground where he's just exposed. And of course the aggressive observer has allowed them to do this, but it's still really good decision making from Bambo and Fluff, deciding when to isolate him and when to keep him locked down.
Stun in for Bone 7. Big heal bomb onto the Faceless Void. Silenced up, not going to be able to walk away. This time he will get it off. Doesn't get the heal back, but Fluff will be there as the sacrifice to take the brunt of the damage. There's the final nuke, and there's the kill. Suddenly Skywrath Mage onto a killing spree here and now. But Blaze, you know, I was trying to allude to before, you were whispering it a little bit here and there. Constant action in this top lane, but, you know, what about the sleeping dragons across the other parts of this map? The Alchemist continues to grind up farms. Sing Sing, you know, on his Death Prophet, second in CS, still matching up nicely in that department. And then bottom lane, you have a Timbersaw who has a great matchup against the Beastmaster. He's a full level ahead, and eventually he's going to want to go on an adventure. Yeah,
the Timbersaw has absolutely been dominating this lane here. He's 42-10 compared to the Beastmaster's 25-0. A lot of great denies on that experience you were talking about.
He's coming to play. Top lane here, so as you're beginning to bulk him up, he's getting ready to flex those muscles right now, but he comes into this top lane Blaze with really no mana.
Yeah, he's not actually looking for a kill here. He's just looking to lane swap, essentially give Sand King a safe place to get an okay Blink Dagger timing. Like, Sand King just wants boots at this moment. It's just been a really rough time for Cheshire Cat. Now he has it, but yeah, FO's not here to kill. He's just here to take the lane, take what CS he can, because with even 2 points in reactive plus the poor man's shield, he's very hard to bring down.
I wonder if Kaipi now are seeing this Timbersaw like, oh, he's big. Okay, he had quite the time there in the bottom lane, and we're going to have to be dealing with this, and we'll see if they do any sort of audible rotations here. It looks like they have bottom lane. It's suddenly a wild Bambo showing up. Cheshire Cat, no boots for you, sir. Barely able to even get the stun off, but he will be dropped once again. And now your Sand King 0 and 5 already. Fluff is going to be taking one himself. It looks like he got caught out between 3 and will get dropped. But that's an Oracle taking all the punishment at 0 and 4. The Sand King, though, that's a different story.
Exactly. Like, it's if you look at the kills, only one of them is not between Sand King or Oracle. Like, Oracle dying 4 times, Sand King dying 5 for a 10-kill game. And it's just... it's really rough for the two of them, but even more so for the SK, because they drafted him expecting more. They expected better initiation. They expected him to get more involved, and right now he's just like so far behind their expectations. Luckily, the two other cores make up for it. The Alchemist and the Timbersaw doing really, really well for themselves, just skyrocketing through the net worth.
Alk, just abandon everything you got going and just get that Ags and give it to the Sand King.
Oh yeah, that absolutely can work. Like, yeah. The Sand King is having a horrible time, but suddenly he just jumps up 4,200 net worth because the other lanes do great. Why not? I can see it. And like I said, Big Num has been doing really well. He's kept his tower alive despite Sing Sing laying in a full exorcism against it. And now he's got this like triple stack here in the jungle. So he's in a really good way. going Armlet Radiance for sure, but I could see Aghanims as like a 3rd or 4th item.
He's like, sorry things are going so bad for you. Everything is just wonderful in the world of Alchemist as he continues to bring in the riches here, farming through this sweet and delicious, cute little stack. So as that continues, that does leave the lane open a bit for Goddamn to put some work in on his Skywrath Mage, getting closer to that Mystic Flare, and we'll be able to get it at a good moment when the Void could be on the prowl with a Chronosphere. Speaking of who's on the prowl, though, it is going to be Kaipi, but it's with 3-3. He's got Primal Roar now up and ready. They smoke, and they're hoping to utilize even the Hawk here to get that little bit of Creeper vision. They are going to be a bit late to scout out where Alchemist was farming up those stacks, but they might not be too late to get a catch on the Skywrath Mage, but it looks like he's found a pretty good position to play very defensively. They recognize that a lot are missing off the map. Kaipi will just take the free tier 1 mid lane.
It seems natural that Kaipi would make this kind of a move because there are 2 reasons to make a smoke wrap in that situation. There's first, it's protecting the push. If anybody tries to contest Sing Sing, they get punished for it very heavily by the Beastmaster Sky. And the other reason is the Alchemist stacks. Generally speaking, you want to contest the jungle early against the Alchemist to try to limit how much he benefits from this Greevel screen early on.
Cheshire Cat going to be possibly surrounded here. We got 3 Kaipi members, but there is going to be help on the way. J4, but it's just J4. Might not be enough. Rotations are going to be coming. Sing Sing commits in with the Exorcism, but now these 2 TPs come through. They try to spread the TPs to reduce the cooldown time, but it still takes a little bit. They walk in. Afro Ninja begins to throw out the buzzsaws here, but Kaipi do step back. Reposturing up, 3-3 looks to move and get silenced though, not going to be able to get off the roar, but they are going to be able to get off the chrono and the bow combo. It's all for Cheshire Cat. He gets saved with the grave, but it's only going to be for a little bit longer. 3-3 and Goddamn squaring up in the back lines. They will get the finish on not 1 but 2 for Kaipi, and plus a follow-up onto the tier 1. Meanwhile, back and below, J4 and Sexy Bambo going 1v1, but then Bone 7 will step in, and the rest of Kaipi will make things a bit better for them. 3-0 is the trade at the end of this one, plus the tier 1 tower.
Yeah, as Blitz Dodo would call this, it's a bit of a death trap here on the bottom lane. Essentially, they're baited into a fight that they shouldn't really be taking with an Alchemist in this position. The Alchemist has TP on cooldown for another 30 seconds. There's no way you go bottom with all those heroes. Not only do you stagger your TPs heavily, but you're fighting into Exorcism plus Chronosphere when you're just under-farmed. The Skyrath and the Sand King are great powerhouses in mid-game team fights, but they're not there yet. They're not ready to facilitate those kinds of engagements. And obviously the Alchemist isn't there either. So it just says, oh, Bambo, are you kidding me? That's
pulls him back, disjoints him a bit, and takes the tower for himself. This is just Bambo things.
Yeah,
but Big
exactly.
Gnome, bit slow here still. Suddenly a wild fluff appears, hits him up with the false promise, but that's not going to be enough. He instead almost takes a bulk of damage himself, pops out that Fate's Edict, able to mitigate a lot of the magic damage. They keep moving forward. They're looking to go for Big Gnome. Can they get it? There's going to be a grave. He's kept alive for now, and looking to go for the TP. Can he make it back away? But no, they got the X. They hold him down, and they slay the big beast. Sing Sing now on a killing spree. Kaipi moving in with a good emphatic game number 1.
So, very nice movement there, being able to not only deny the tower, but then pick up 2 more kills, leading the kill score 10-5. Not as big of a deal killing the Alchemist in this state than in many other games, because as the net worth graph shows, Kaipi is ahead, therefore they don't really get that chunk of change in the comeback gold that Alchemist represents really heavily in his pinata of net worth. But all the same, it's still great to take him off the map to delay that Radiance, assuming that he goes for it. And, yeah, just continue to offset Power Rangers' balance. I mean, they've lost 2 tier 1s, they've lost 5 kills comparatively, and, yeah, I feel like PR are starting to sweat it a little bit.
I would imagine so. The grind continues as we still see Cheshire Cat trying to find his way towards a Blink Dagger, but just as fast as he's able to step in for a neutral camp to make a pull happen, we got Bambo already stalking him, and Bambo's going right for the armlet build here on his Kunkka, and I love this kind of a build, obviously. It adds such a high ceiling for the Kunkka to be to kind of tri-core here. Actually, even a quad-core.
Yeah. There have been times where you'll see a Veil built up on the Kunkka instead, like Veil Ether, but he's got the max Tidebringer, definitely going Armlet, and definitely going to be able to put out the damage that we were worried about earlier on. Like I was saying, okay, well, if the Kunkka is just controlling with the ship and you're getting Roars and you're getting Chronos, but the Alchemist Dazzle survives through all of it, then Kaipi are not finding the kills they need to. But with this Armlet build-up, the Tidebringer, just getting 2 Tidebringers out in the fight should give you the damage you need to at least kill the backline, like the Skywrath and Dazzle, if not the Alchemist himself.
I don't know if it had been mentioned, but we only saw briefly a bit about it there, but having the Oracle on your team against the Skywrath Mage is going to be pretty nice. It becomes pretty obvious who's getting hit up with that Mystic Flare, as long as it's not him. And if you get off one casual W, you know, you'll be mitigating all of that damage.
Yeah, it's amazing how strong that skill is potentially. Like, you can just stop a full Necrophos ulti, Reaper Scythe. Like, somebody's at like 5% HP, they're about to take 1,000 damage for one spell. You're like, nope, Fate's Edict, easy peasy. You get a disarm out of it that can work into the late game against hard carries.
Yeah.
Like, a Sven's about to two-shot you, and you're
It
just
used to amplify also
Sure.
physical damage on top
Exactly,
of that. It
exactly.
used to be so much more, too. I mean, Oracle overall used to be so much more. As people think he's now high tier, he was ridiculous with where he stood before they began the balance and invited him into the captain's mode here. Mid lane, it looks like we might have a bit of a tussle as they will be able to get the solo pick onto Bone 7, but I guess distraction tactics because the rest of Kaipi have been parked inside this Roche pit, battling it out with the big boy and taking that extra life here. And it is going to be Sing Sing who does pick up the Aegis along with the Haste Rune, so just a little bone sacrifice, I suppose, while they get that done.
Now, I will make the argument that without the Blink, without the Epicenter, there's pretty much no way they go into the pit against that anyways, so they'll take what they can get for sure. But yeah, still Kaipi pretty happy to just walk away with the Aegis, and in 90 seconds, they're going to be pushing most likely a tier 2 bottom. Like, they really want to suppress the map, make sure the Alchemist doesn't have a safe place to farm, so using the next Exorcism with Aegis gives them a huge boon of confidence in the next fight. And again, because Cheshire Cat is so offset and he's their main initiator, this is going to be the perfect time for Kaipi to press their advantage.
And what do you think about Sing Sing committing in? He started off and he got the casual hood buildup. Obviously adds to durability, which Death Prophet always loves, but is that just a particular circumstance with what they're going up against right now? You got heavy magical burst with something like Skywrath Mage, even Timbersaw brings in his own share of Radiance. Is it all because of those elements?
Well, the two major magic damage dealers I'm looking at here are the Skywrath and the Sand King. Obviously, he probably didn't expect the Sand King to have this bad of a game. He expected the Sand King to have a much larger impact, and he was probably prepping for that. So the two build-ups you can essentially go for with that amount of gold, a little bit more expensive is the Eul Scepter. But Hood is a little cheaper. It allows you to go to your next item, in this case the Veil, very quickly. And also you don't have to manually activate it to give yourself survivability. So if you get caught by like an Epicenter Blink Burrow Strike, and you're just absolutely screwed. You're going to get blown up in seconds. You're able to mitigate that enough, just long enough to get the hood active off and maybe get some distance in the fight, or at least give the Oracle more time to save you. So overall, I think maybe he even built it up to a pipe later, but right now it's a good casual pickup that he doesn't have to rely on the active on if he gets chain stunned.
Yeah, I remember there is that active. I can't imagine how many times I've been casually walking into some pro player streams and they've been in situations where they've had a hood and they forgot to even pop it themselves. It's just old habits never die young. How dare these new items that I've known all my Dota life suddenly have new capabilities. But nonetheless, it looks like we might have a split down the middle for objectives here. Kaipi making an assertive push on the top lane, looking to go for the tier 1. While PR are still kind of scrapping together what they can to boost up their economy. All congregated towards this bottom lane. You know, they're eyeballing a bit this tier 1, but they understand there's a lot from Kaipi still missing. Big Num nearby, farming up a camp, happens to pop this Invis rune, and then loses it. And then suddenly there's a roar. Oh, unfortunate timing for him. With enough burst, they could be able to get him, but he's living through. He's muscling past. He's got his ulti popped. And now with them toggles, he's going to be good. They get the return fire, able to kind of blast down the Oracle with the help of that Mystic Flare. But the fight ain't over yet. Bone 7 jumps in, gets off a Chrono, but the nice little stun play from Cheshire Cat gets the connection. He himself eats a huge burst with the help of the Torrent. Grave will keep him alive here, but here comes Sing Sing popping out the Exorcism, looking to make a go, but Timbersaw quick to make a pull out. And it looks like he will be able to disengage. Big Num's still here. Sing Sing finds him, but is not going to be able to stop him from the TP. Something that Eul's would have been handy for, but nonetheless, with the situation as it is, it's only going to be a 1-1 split at the end of the day. Oracle and Dazzle.
Yeah, and that's really good for Power Rangers, actually, being able to kind of mitigate the offensive of Kaipi. Again, this is the time where they want the Exorcism and the Aegis to break a tier 2. And right now, obviously, all tier 2 towers are quite healthy. And that play just didn't work out because of the strength of this Alchemist on defense. I also got to really commend J4 for his plays there, getting a Shadow Wave to give Alchemist a little bit of extra HP between armlet toggles and getting a perfect Grave out on Sand King to get him out of there. So yes, J4 ends up being the casualty of war, but he's able to keep SK alive, which gets him this Blink Dagger. Finally, Cheshire Cat, the off-lane Sand King, who has unfortunately found himself 0-6-2 this game, is now ready to fight Epicenter and Blink Dagger online. So that's a really big deal in my mind, and we'll see how quickly it pays off for them.
If it will be a game changer here for PR or not. They're already starting to make that kind of a climb to get themselves in more of an even playing field along with Kaipi, but Kaipi are still holding onto those reins on the back of that Aegis while they can. It looked like it could have been a lot more positive for Kaipi in that last skirmish, being blessed with an opportunity where they crossed paths with the Alchemist, but unfortunately, Kaipi not expecting that. We're in a bit of an awkward position and couldn't follow up with enough burst to get the finish on the Goliath here. Mid lane, we could see some action. Sing considers making a move on the Big Num, but the rest of the PR party are back in behind, looking to go for Bone 7. He gets silenced up, but the Mystic Flare is not going to be good enough. Back on the front, Aurora is to fly out. Bambo and company looking to make a move. They will be able to get Afro Ninja, but he does get the suicide off at the last second. The rest of PR do begin to trickle out. Backup TPs and just running the hell away from trouble if possible. But look at this, Bambo looking to go for the torrent. Will connect. Can he get close enough for maybe the X to lock him down even further? Gets it off. Concoction is going to be spread from Big Num to try to slow down Bambo. Is the chase on? It looks like it is. Here comes Afro Ninja. The boat's going to fly. Nice connection, man. Bambo putting in work on the little pirate. Moving in. Now Big Num. Hit up with a Soul Siphon, get brought low. They zap him down. Fluff gets him with the Purifying Flames. They will get Bambo at the end of the day as Afro Ninja is able to step in. Bambo going to be taken down. Bone 7 in. Drops out the Chronosphere. Is almost able to get J4. He gets the Grave off. Exorcism will make chase. He still continues to live on, dishing out the heals, but he knows he can't make it too far. Will accept his fate. Goddamn, back in action, looking to make it go for Sing Sing, and they get him done. Afro Ninja jumps in and slashes up the little lady, and they're not done yet. Looking to make it go. They'll get Fluff. Afro Ninja. He's got a Bloodstone. He had to use it to suicide, but he quickly brings back a couple of extra charges, and PR with the fight back. 10-15. An absolute bloodbath. The biggest one of the game so far turns into what looks like a 4-for-3 trade.
It was so close before the Exorcism actually healed up Sing Sing. Like, it was essentially like if the Timbersaw goes for that play, like 3 seconds later, he actually can't burst him down because the Exorcism will heal him up to full HP. But I still got to really shout out Bambo for his plays there. Like, I was looking at that, I'm like, your team is like 3 screens away. How are you going to keep this Alchemist occupied long enough to actually bring them there? He's been hitting sick torrents all game long. He even like faked out a torrent that he didn't need to cast and baited out some spells because of it. But like in the bottom fight, in the jungle fight, he was able to keep Timbersaw locked down with multiple X marks, multiple torrents, and now in this most recent one, able to just for like 10 straight seconds keep Alchemist in the same spot. Then they were able to follow through. They had took his roam on everybody. They were able to chrono. They were able to make something great happen. While at the tail end of it, Timbersaw's quick respawn thanks to Bloodstone allows him to get the better end of it, killing off Sing Sing after Aegis has expired. It's still Bambo that sets up a great kill on the Alchemist.
Bambo just waiting on the outskirts for where the Timbersaw will end up showing himself to get off the X-Torrent combo, but obviously this Timbersaw is just a bit too tanky, and without enough firepower, he will be able to waltz away from that one. The heavy momentum that Kaipi were able to put behind themselves for the early laning phase, putting themselves in a position where they're at once a 3K net worth advantage, has now been brought all the way back to square even, and I imagine could continue to favor and tip the way of PR if this turns into more of a stagnant, just kind of farming game, Blaze.
Yeah,
I mean, pressure on Kaipi, I'd imagine, to kind of keep the pace going.
Yeah, I would say so. They're up against the Radiance Alchemist now, so the lanes are going to be very constantly pushed out when it's in neutral, and it's going to be pretty difficult to deal with that. So they're probably looking at the next Roshan respawn as a keyword for go. Another thing is, of course, the X is in the chrono.
Oh, they spotted goddamn right inside the pit. They looks to connect with the roar. He gets off the Mystic Flare right before he dies. It's going to help take down Fluff. Fluff is going to be able to get the False Promise onto 3-3, who will TP way back home. Bone with the time dialogue, not going to be able to get the connection. Jump in, Epicenter right in the midst of back lines. He's going to be able to get Sexy Bambo. Make it a 2-for-1 trade. Working out nicely here for PR, and that's going to force Kaipi to just totally evacuate the area and possibly just hand over the Roche.
Well, at least tier 1. The Roche isn't going to be up for at least another minute, if not 4. So it's not really the key objective now. It's definitely the area that they want to control, though. We have the Hawk sitting right in the pit area, catching out the Skywrath in this case, and still, PR are able to kind of get the last laugh. Nice little Epicenter finally coming out. Cheshire Cat starting to pull his weight. But yeah, this Alpha Ninja Timber is large and in charge. I want to mention that both of these heroes are really heavily countered by time dilation. They haven't been maxed out yet, but as it gets maxed out, it's going to be a pretty big nuisance until they start getting Yules and BKB.
I don't know how often Bone 7 has been able to connect, though, with that time dilation in some of these fights on some of those key targets, so we'll have to kind of see that. But I am totally there with you. It could really cripple, especially someone like the Timbersaw here. So unless he decides to move in, which he is going to be building up for a Lotus Orb as preparation for such a case. Nice little X connection here with the boat, with the Torrent. They get the Timbersaw in passing. They'll be following up with a Roar. Everything they can to get this tank. He's still good, but finally will be able to go down. My God, it takes so much horsepower to bring down that machine.
Yeah, the magic damage is the key there. Getting like the Purifying Flames, the Crypt Swarm, that's what really seals the deal. Otherwise, he just lasts through everything, it seems like. But yeah, it is going to be Kaipi now having an opportunity to push down bottom. I think they'll pop Exorcism pretty soon to try to break this tower down as quickly as possible before the Epicenter comes back up, before this becomes a really contested engagement.
Here they come. Tower at almost half of its life, it looks like. For the meantime, Kaipi will reserve the Exorcism to try to really take and ramp up the speed here. If they decide to follow it up into a high ground push, they definitely will make the go. Half their team pulls back, and then they kind of decide, no, let's keep moving forward.
They had a little bit of vision already on J4 and Big Numb. Big Numb farming in the jungle under a Dire Ward, and J4 pushing the lane in mid. So it seemed like they had a pretty good idea that that actually wasn't going to be a fight at all, and good on them to reserve those spells. But now, looking at the high ground, if they pop Exorcism, we're going to be all eyes on Sand King for the big initiation.
All right, there's the Exorcism being unleashed. The Ghostbusters here, Apo Ninja first on the scene, and now comes the rest of the company. Here comes Big Numb, the big boy, running right on in. He's got the concoction, looking to pop it off and Sing, who does get the Yules off in time. Bone 7's in, and then he's quickly out, waiting for the shots to line up. Kaipi, though, doesn't seem too satisfied with where things were going, and they'll just have to walk away with their Exorcism.
Yeah, I think after the Yules there, Cheshire Cat could have gone for the Burrow Strike, but it probably just gets false promised, and then the DP walks away. But with the double, of course, the double Spirit Siphon being a big deal. But yeah, in this case, they weren't able to keep them in that spot, but at least they kind of waste the Exorcism, right? Like, yeah, 1,000 tower damage is really good on a tier 3, but it's still a tier 3 that's alive, and it's still one that they're going to have to fight through. So all in all, I feel like Kaipi don't get enough out of that unless they get the cooldown back up for Exorcism before Roshan gets going on.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you look at Kaipi's lineup with where they are now. They still have cooldowns to work around. They still have to wait till all their little precious stars are in line before they can approach those kind of situations here. And it's when they're kind of caught off guard, or if you will, a little bit with their pants down, that's when PR can really get the ball going with some low cooldown play. But behind the tower here, Big Davida dive. They're going to be able to quickly take out Fluff with the help of that Mystic Flare. The burst is real here from PR. They get what they need, and they back on up. Fluff with the buyback here shows that Kaipi are looking to hold if possible. But as that happens, PR just like, you know what, we'll force you to waste the extra bit of money. We got what we needed from this lane, and we'll just leave.
Absolutely. They got the tier 1 bottom. They got the buyback on Fluff, and not the most critical of ones that actually only cost them 600 gold, but that's still a huge part of his pocket right now, as he's only got 2,200 net worth. So all in all, good movement there from PR. But okay for Kaipi to delay the time period where they don't have both Exorcism and Chronosphere.
Bambo recently had picked up a Shadow Blade there, Blaze, and was on the prowl recently to see if he can catch anyone from PR leaving that fight, but now he's the one getting put into a bit of trouble now. Pops his new Shadow Blade, trying to avoid the Epi. They actually ping perfectly where he'll be. Can they get a blind stun? It doesn't matter. They get him nonetheless. Beautiful grab there from PR.
Yeah, just take it down slowly to the Armlet and the Poison Touch. It's a pretty long duration, 10 seconds to keep taking damage down, so in the end, he has to fall upon his own new fresh, shiny sword, and that is going to be another kill for PR, bringing the kills back to pretty much where they expected it to be. I want to talk a little bit more about this like Manta Octarine Alchemist and what it does to the game right now. Kaipi have to find a way to take an objective with their ultimates, but the problem is getting there. Yeah. Like clearing out the creep waves, clearing out these illusions is so difficult. I think they're actually going to have to start prioritizing more farm on Bambo. Like they're going to have to get more consistent damage out of the Tidebringer. They're going to have to be able to push out these lanes very quickly, because otherwise Big Numb is always going to keep the Equilibrium on the dire side of the map, and Kaipi can't really do anything with these big, powerful ultis.
What do you, I mean, was it already mentioned too? Because I was like, you made, great point. Obviously, Kunkka's going to be one of the best to be able to spam out these waves and spam out this nuisance of an Alchemist once it gets to that point. And then you're like, do others need to get something like the Maelstrom And one of the first people I reached to is Bone 7. Now, Bone 7 is already committed for an Eastern popular build. He went straight for the Lincoln Sphere. So, I don't know, I find that a bit interesting. Is it because of the silence? But nearby, we are going to be seeing a breakout. It's going to be the Kunkka. Bambo gets blasted right there. Cheshire Cat will be able to pick that one up. Certainly a lot of assistance coming out from that Mystic Flare, of course, from Goddamn.
Yeah, you break a 4-man smoke around a Geometry site, you're going down, period. But Sing Sing will be fine, it looks like. But yeah, to talk about this Bone 7 build-up, essentially his role is to make sure time dilation goes out on as many heroes as possible, because I mentioned Sand King and Timbersaw, but Dazzle and Skywrath are heavily affected by that time dilation as well, and they're much less likely to get a way to dispel it anytime soon. So if he could just blink in, get a good chrono, get a 4-man time dilation, 5-man maybe.
Well, we got a blink in, and it's going to be a blink and roar here from 3-3. Bone 7 gets a follow-up. The chrono stops in mid-timber chain here.
I don't think they kill him. I think he
and
actually
it still might not be enough. He gets the self-lotus off.
Oh, okay.
They finally will be able to burst him down. While Bignum looks to play. 1.5 second. He's got him.
He's so massive. Like, it's so hard to bring him down, but through the full duration of the chrono, the problem was that the Necronomicons were caught in it, so I was seeing a lot of mana still up for this Timber where he might be able to get away, but no, they are able to get enough magical damage through Time Lock, through Purifying Flames to finish the job, and he'll be back up in about 10 seconds here thanks to that Bloodstone, which is now back to default 6 charges.
Bambo mid lane shows himself on the back of that Shadow Blade. Will help burst things down quite a bit. We're seeing a little bit of Kaipi coming together here, but there will be quickly a weave dished out here from J4, which could force Kaipi to kind of slow their roll. And back into the awkward situation we'll go for Kaipi Blaze. I mean, the Alchemist factor is certainly becoming to happen here in full force, and it only gets a lot better. Next up on the docket seems to be the AC, and then we start heading into like Agnum's territory. Things are not going to be getting any easier for Kaipi, so it's pressure on them to kind of hold the momentum and keep the push happening and then itemize appropriately for whatever could come their way. For now, they move into the Roche Pit. It looks like they will be able to get this one pretty clean.
So for those wondering why the Timbersaw went for the Lotus Orb over the Hood of Defiance, where Hood seems to be able to better mitigate the damage that is actually killing him, the Lotus is actually better against the time dilation because you can dispel yourself. So you get hit by that, you purge yourself immediately, you keep fighting. And that's the big difference between the two items. But despite the Aegis gone, the Exorcism's off, and it looks like PR are ready to fight.
He goes in, they're going to get first connection on for Sing. They hit him up, they slow him down, Mystic Flare will be there, but Sing just casually walks out from it, not even taking half of his life. Cheshire Cat, meanwhile, up on the high ground, jumping from 3-3, does get the grave, and he's going to be forced to the other awkward part. Not going to be able to make it to the low ground. That is unfortunate for him. A 1-1 split right now in this fight, and they're not done yet. Bone 7's able to get off the time walk and get a lot of that life back. Him and Bambo try to retreat as the chase on from PR. It certainly is in Apo Ninja's case. Moving in, slowing down with the Chakram. Is it going to be enough? Can they burst on forward? The Lincolns will help a bit, but they will get that Aegis almost as fast as Kaipi were able to pick it up. Nice torrent from Bambo. Will catch on to 2, and Bone 7 will be able to time walk away from any further trouble.
Yeah, so obviously they won't be able to pick him up the second time. He's just a little bit too nimble for that. But yeah, that 4 staff, that position for Sand King in general is really awkward. Getting roared, necroed with the gem, like they'll just burst him down. Luckily it gets picked back up by Apo Ninja in time. But yeah, it's just Sand King has to be very careful how he positions, because essentially all he was 1 burrow strike on 1 hero, which is not what Sand King's job is in these fights. Yeah, initiating's great, and if you can follow up a single stun, like they were able to jump on the Oracle in the meantime, that was great, but just 1 single burrow is not what you want from Cheshire. He needs to step it up. But at the same time, the state of the game still favors PR overall. 3 kills down means nothing when you have this Alchemist continuing to control the way the map flows.
Eyes on the top rune here. Looks like Fluff will be able to sweep in and quickly snag it up. Goddamn not happy about it. Well, unfortunately, have to let that one go, but we have the rest of Kaipi rolling in. Bambo seems to think that there's certainly a fight that could happen. Rushes right on in, happens to catch the Alchemist with the combo, but there's a force. Shoves him back and away, he's able to get off the Kakashi on the last second. It's on for Sting, under the Mystic Flare, but there will be a false promise to help keep him alive. Bone 7 connects with a nice chrono on 2, and gets a Big Num on the outskirts. Can they burst through the tank? They can! The big boy is going to be going down, and now they look for scraps. Goddamn, looking to run back and away. Bone 7 continues to make chase. Cheshire Cat is going to be able to get the finish onto Fluff at that same moment, turning this into a 2-for-1 trade. It looks like Sing Sing will take what he can and TP's all the way back home. Kaipi put together a respectable trade and fight and give themselves a bit of a net worth swing, Blaze, but still have a lot of work to do.
Certainly, but now that they have the net worth against them, they're actually getting more from a kill on Alchemist in those situations. So it hardly states it from the 601 killing spree for Kunkka. It actually gives a lot more assist gold to Kaipi overall. So it's a really big kill now. And it's just PR weren't ready for that kind of engagement. The Timbersaw was top, actually had to TP to the Dire side where the creep wave was pushing in, and then show up to the fight like 10 seconds late behind enemy lines. So two big players were not able to make the most of that team fight. Alpha Ninja not being there, and again, Cheshire Cat just unable to find the positioning for more than a burrow or two. So in the end, great control on the Alchemist, and as beefy as he may be, he is still a mortal man, and he will go down, giving Kaipi a bit of hope going into the next stage. 70 seconds from now, they'll look for another fight.
But as I was saying, it's time for some Agnums, I'm sure, to come out here, and there's plenty of Agnums candidates on his team that have yet to really even show that potential here. Timbersaw moved forward for Ashiva, so I imagine Ags could be on his list coming. Sand King might be getting one himself, already has a point booster in that department. Dazzle, could use an Ags for a crazy-ass weave, and then, I don't know, Skywrath, I imagine, is pretty low on the priority list. It does help his ulti, but that takes a lot of blue bar.
Yeah, it definitely is not the priority. He is probably bottom of the list. Maybe you can argue in some situations it's better than Dazzle's Ags, but only slightly, and that's because their physical damage is so low. It's almost all magical and pure. So, anyways, we do have 33 jumping on J4. That's going to be an easy pickup on the Dazzle despite the Force Staff, and now the fight belongs on the east side.
But look at this high ground position here for Big Numb and Apple Ninja. They rush right through. They get two. Can they burst through Fluff? They can. Sing's going to be able to get off the Yules, but Cheshire Cat's going to be right there ready with an epicenter. This turns all the way for Power Rangers right now. Sexy Bambo running down south to try to make it away from trouble, but they've already made their move. It was on 3-3. They get that kill. Bambo, can he make it away? Went for the side chop. He does not make it out. The chase is real from the Power Rangers here. They get what they want. They get the tier 2. The game is all their way, and even though it says 21-22, that you look the real story of this game, and you can see the net worth on the up and up, all for the Radiant.
You can see a lot of frustration from Bambo there. He's pinging all over the map. He's drawing lines. So you guys should have retreated to the north. We could have fought them in a funnel here. It just doesn't work out. There is going to be the Mjolnir doing a lot of damage here in the corner, but it's not only enough to bring down the Skywrath. Sand King gets clipped on the west side, so it is going to be 2 down for the Void sacrificing himself, but that's not going to stop them from losing Rax, which is the big deal here.
Buyback from Bone. Can he do better in round 2? Well, he jumps in, loses nearly the mass majority of his life, and will be forced to time walk back and away. Fluff is here. He has False Promise if necessary, but they got to do something because they just lost their first Rax of this game, and they're not even done yet. PR will take it, though, and they walk back and away, and they're going to be feeling pretty confident for the remainder of this game. And Kaipi moving forward. I can understand there might be a bit of frustration on their side, but they're going to have to find a way to dig deep.
It's tough. I mean, it really clearly indicates to me that Bambo has a little bit of tilt on his side. It's just that fight did not play out the way they needed to, and the problem is they were already playing from behind. Now they're a melee racks down. They're never going to be able to get back to that bottom lane. Like, yeah, that Exorcism way back when put 1,000 damage onto the bottom tier 3 for the Radiant, but how are they ever going to get creeped back to that without 5-man wiping Power Rangers? It's just so difficult. They really need to dig deep. They need to get like the full-on force of Death Prophet, Void, and Kunkka to their greatest state.
Oh, it's not going to get any better, though, I'm sure, for the psychological department here of Bambo, as he does end up going down pretty fast, and that was just a solo pick by Cheshire Cat. Here's a response play, though. Bone 7 looks to jump in, does connect with a time dilation here. But Ninja,
they're baiting.
Step back away, and you're right, the bait, the trap has been sprung. He gets off the Lotus Orb, they look to turn back for Fluff. Fluff is going to be forced to sell False Promise. Desperately goes for the TP, but with all those smacks, he's going to pop right then and there. Dominating now for Big Numb. Here comes PR down the top lane.
You can tell because FO wasn't even scared. Like, he had time dilation on, and he didn't even Lotus Orb. He's just like, yep, keep coming, boys, keep coming. And he was able to just get the Flux and stuff out in the open. So they're able to pick up one more kill here, and they do have Chrono and Exorcism, they do have Boat, but it's still going to be a really tough fight to hold the high ground here against Power Rangers.
Everything they could need is up and ready with the exception of Fluff's Oracle. As mentioned, Chrono, they got the Roar. It is going to be a hell of a trip if they want to be able to try to stop PR in this one. Best case scenario is a hold here, and only delaying what could possibly be the inevitable. They're going to be quickly take down the tier 3. Big Numb begins to go to work, chopping away at this ranged Rax. It just looks like butter as it melts on down to the ground. Leaving now the melee Rax still standing. It looks like PR will kind of reposition and step back. Got to give at least a little bit of respect to Kaipi because they do have that wombo combo factor. A lot of big heavy hitting ults, but I would imagine for PR for the most part still pretty confident as long as they can kind of keep the swords back. They already dish out the nice supportive weave here, and now durable as ever. PR looking to go for the closing blow.
Atho's also got the axe, so a lot of damage able to come out very quickly. It's really hard for Kaipi to find the opening.
There's the torrent. Soul Siphon flies out. Big Num getting closer to losing only about half of his life. The boat will go out. Looks like more for a rum buff, if anything. Bone 7 breaches past, gets stunned up, turn around, Mystic Flare's going to be there. He goes down, he's out, no buyback for him. Sing Sing, barely alive. False Promise will be there. He tries to Soul Siphon everything he can to get all that life back. It may be enough to keep him alive. They are going to also get J4 down with the help of 3-3 on the other side, but Big Num is easily going to be able to get redemption for that one. Sing Sing alive, barely. No more mana. A buyback will come through for 3-3, but it's not going to be in time to save Sing Sing. He ends up going down, but Big Num chopping away at everyone who's left, and that could be the end of it here. PR with another huge fight their way. This Alchemist is just too big and too mighty.
Indeed, and that's going to be the top laner. Rax going down. Fluff throws out one last hit. He might die to the illusion. Yes, he will! He will die to the illusion of the Alchemist as the spells get reflected back upon him, and a two-man stun coming out from Cheshire Cat sets up a kill on Sing Sing as well. 5 heroes down, 4 Rax, and that's going to be it. Kaipi have lost the first game of this 2-game series, making it 0-3 as a record for their group stage here.
And it's not like this game turned out to be a huge throw or anything like that, but we do got to remember Kaipi at one point, a 3K net worth advantage. It looked like skating through the laning phase, Bamboo all over the place, setting up ridiculous plays. Sing Sing getting the upper edge in that mid lane. How well they were able to kind of keep Cheshire in check and make that Sand King a non-factor, but at the end of the day, you got an Alchemist, you got all this greed, and they just farm.
Absolutely. That's the thing, is like it's so hard to pressure in that situation. When I saw that Alchemist come out as that 4th pick, I realized that the way that the lanes would flow is essentially that Kaipi have to dominate like 2 consecutive fights with their cooldowns back to back, because it just takes too long for them to really regain their composure to go for the next engagement. It's just the way that the lineup for Power Rangers is designed is to fight very frequently and to push constantly. And so Kaipi really had to suppress that early. They did okay up against the Sand King in the laning phase, but because it was solo matchups, the Alchemist and the Timbersaw got to run away with it, and there was just no stopping it from there. Kaipi needed to execute perfectly, and it just didn't show here.
We'll have to see if Kaipi look to adjust their drafting game a bit and try to avoid that kind of playstyle altogether, or if they're just going to try to innovate with something a bit new. That's Blaze. I'm KotLGuy. We'll cut to a small break, and when we come back, we got more BTS Europe Series action as we get into game number 2 of Power Rangers versus Kaipi. Gang, we'll see you soon.